There's a moment we all face. It's when you realize you're truly done. No more trying, no more holding on, no more hoping they'll change. But what happens after that? I'm Jim Rohn, and today I'm going to help you see more clearly what really shifts when you step out of a relationship with an avoidant person. Because this isn't just about them, it's about you, about how you're reborn, stronger, wiser, and finally find true peace. You might have thought that if you left, they'd regret it. But the truth is, you're the one who will change forever. Do you really need them to regret it? Or is the most amazing thing waiting for you ahead? Stay tuned until the end of this video, because you'll discover the biggest turning point that people who have been through relationships like this all realize. And if you're on your healing journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue growing and living the life you deserve. Ready? Let's get started. Leaving someone you once loved is not easy, especially if you once hoped that with a little more effort things would change. But then, at some point, you realize you're exhausted, you stop trying, you actually leave. And then, what happens next? 1. You no longer seek validation from them. There was a time when you believed that if you were good enough, patient enough, loving enough, they would change. You waited not just once, but perhaps many times. You hoped that one day they would recognize your worth, would come back and love you the way you wanted. But then, what really happened? They remained distant. They continued to avoid serious conversations. And even though you tried to change yourself, become withdrawn, wait patiently, the result was still the same. You did everything you could, but it seemed like they never really saw you. And then you left. Not because you wanted to, but because you had no other choice. Initially, you might still expect something, an apology, a regretful text, some sign that showed they missed you. But then you realize that their validation is no longer as important as you once thought. You don't need them to admit that you deserve to be loved. You don't need an affirmation from them to know that you have value. The most important thing at this moment is that you have begun to see yourself in a different way. Little by little, you let go of the expectation that one day they will wake up and realize how special you are. You start to ask yourself, why do I have to prove my worth to someone who doesn't really appreciate it? Why do I have to wait for confirmation from someone to feel good enough? And most importantly, why has love become a competition to win their attention? When these questions arise, you understand that you have passed an important threshold. You no longer place the focus of your life on another person. One of the things that keeps you stuck in the past is the desire for them to realize their mistakes and regret it. You once imagined them coming back, saying that they were wrong, that they missed you, that they couldn't live without you. But if you think carefully, does that really change anything? If they apologize but still don't really change, what does that apology mean? If they regret but are still not willing to love you the way you deserve, does that regret bring you happiness? The truth is, you don't need an apology to continue your life. You don't need them to regret to know that you once loved sincerely. You only need yourself, stronger, wiser, and ready to move forward. Imagine you are standing on a stage waiting for applause from the audience. But then you realize the audience doesn't really care. They don't see what you've tried, or they only come to watch briefly and then leave. At this point, you have two choices. Continue trying to win recognition from people who don't care, or step down from the stage and find a place where you are truly appreciated. When you choose to leave, you no longer need validation from people who don't see your worth. You become the one who steers your life, instead of letting others decide whether you have value or not. True maturity is not about making someone regret letting you go. It's about you no longer needing that. You have understood that your value doesn't come from the recognition of others. It comes from how you see yourself, how you treat yourself, and how you choose to build the life you deserve. And this is just the first step. Because when you no longer seek validation from them, you will realize a whole new world is waiting for you. A world where you are the center, not them. Stay tuned, because in the next part we will explore what really happens when you start to prioritize yourself and why that is the biggest turning point in your journey of maturity. 2. The initial pain. But this time, something is different. When you leave, the pain is still there. It doesn't disappear immediately, nor is it as simple as closing a door and moving on. You still feel empty. There are still moments when your mind wonders, did I really do the right thing? Is there a chance for things to change? But this time, there is a difference. You no longer feel as desperate as before. In the past, each time you separated, it made you feel like you were losing a part of yourself. You were immersed in feelings of anxiety, self-blame, and even wondered if you could do anything to make them come back. But this time, you don't want to go back anymore. Not because you don't love them, but because you know it won't change anything. You've tried, you've given them chances, you've been more patient than you thought you could be, but in the end, this relationship still came to a dead end, not because you weren't good enough, but because they were never truly ready to receive the love you gave. So, this time, you don't beg them to change. You don't wait for an apology. You no longer crave a miracle that could turn them into a more loving person. You no longer feel that your happiness depends on them. And that's the moment you realize this pain is no longer a loss, but a rebirth. You are entering a new phase, a life where you no longer have to fight to win someone's affection. You no longer have to guess if they really care about you. You no longer have to accept a vague relationship just for fear of being alone. This time, the pain you feel is not the feeling of loss because you lost someone, but the transformation to find yourself again. And that is a huge difference, because this time, instead of trying to go back to fix something that cannot be saved, you start to look forward towards a stronger version of yourself. And that is what matters most. 3. You start to see the relationship in a realistic light. There is a strange power in looking back at the past with sober eyes. When you were in that relationship, you used to tell yourself, just give them more time. They will change. As long as I love enough, they will open up. But now, when you have really left, you look back and realize the truth that you used to avoid. You see clearly that they don't avoid because you're not good enough. They don't distance themselves because you did something wrong. They avoid intimacy not because you don't love enough, but because they have never been ready to love the way you want. And more importantly, you realize that this has never been within your control. This is the moment of inner awakening. You used to put all your strength into changing someone, but now you understand that the only person you can change is yourself. You used to think that love could heal them, but the truth is that love can only grow when both people are ready. They are not ready, and that is something you cannot force. But you are different. You are ready to face the truth, to let go of illusions, and to choose a better path for yourself. At this time, your inner strength gradually reveals itself. No more clinging, no more self-deception, no more hope that one day they will change. You no longer ask, do they love me? But instead, you ask yourself, am I really happy in this relationship? And when the answer is no, you understand that the decision to leave is one of the most powerful things you have ever done. Accepting reality doesn't mean you give up or lose faith in love. It means you are mature enough to clearly recognize that not all love is healthy, and not everyone can love the way you deserve. When you stop deceiving yourself that they will change, you open the door to something even more important, changing yourself to move towards a better life. And this is the biggest turning point. When you stop looking at them with hope, you start looking at yourself with compassion. You no longer ask, why can't they love me the way I want? But instead you remind yourself, I deserve a love that I don't have to beg for. The moment you accept reality, no longer clinging to what is not meant for you, is also the moment you are truly freed. And when you free yourself from a love full of avoidance, you begin to create space for better things to enter your life. Or you start prioritizing yourself for the first time in a long time. Perhaps you're used to putting other people's feelings first. You used to consider every word, every action, asking yourself, will this make them feel comfortable? Should I be a little more patient? What can I do to make them see that I'm the right person? But now, when you've left, another question gradually appears, a question that perhaps you've long forgotten. What do I really want? No longer is it, what do they think of me? Do they regret it? Should I give them another chance? But what do I really want for my own life? And when you start asking this question, a whole new door opens before your eyes. You realize that love is not waiting for someone to be ready to love you. Love is not a negotiation where you try to shrink yourself to fit someone's standards. Love is not, and more importantly, love is not a state that you have to endure in insecurity, in incomprehensible silences, in avoidance that you cannot control. Instead of worrying about whether they are thinking about you, you spend time thinking about yourself. You start to remember the things that you used to love but have forgotten because of that relationship, the books that once inspired you but you put aside, the exercises you used to enjoy but didn't have the motivation to maintain, the trips you always wanted but never took because you were worried that they might not like it. Now nothing can stop you anymore. You realize that you can enjoy life without someone making you feel fulfilled. Not because you lose faith in love, but because you understand that you are the real source of your own strength. You don't need someone to fill the void, because you know how to nurture your own soul. And the most wonderful thing is, when you start prioritizing yourself, you no longer feel lonely. On the contrary, you feel free. Free from heavy expectations, from nameless worries, from the obsession of having to become someone to be loved. Now you live the way you really want, no longer bound by someone who cannot give you the love you deserve. You start building a life where you don't have to wait for anyone. And when you do that, you not only heal, but also become the strongest version of yourself. 5. You are no longer affected by their regret. There is something interesting about avoidant people. When you are still there, they may not see your value. But when you really leave, not leaving in anger or hurt, but leaving with calmness, that's when they start to feel lost. At first, they may be silent. But then one day, you receive a surprise message. How have you been lately? I just heard a song and suddenly thought of you. I didn't think things would end like this. Short, unclear messages full of mixed signals. They are not exactly apologizing. They don't exactly want to come back. They are just checking if you are still there. But this time you are no longer caught up. You have learned something very important. If they really wanted to stay, they wouldn't have let you leave in the first place. They had the opportunity, they had the time, but they didn't appreciate it. And you understand that a random message, a moment of nostalgia, cannot change that truth. You no longer wait for their regret, because you have learned to give yourself what they couldn't give you. You no longer need them to confirm that you are worthy. You no longer seek answers from them, because now you have found the answers within yourself. This time, you read their message and no longer feel your heart beating fast. You no longer wonder if you should reply. You no longer feel that they have the right to reappear and disrupt the peace you have built. You smile, put your phone down, and continue to enjoy your life. And that is true freedom. Mini game. Test your inner strength. Imagine the following situation. You are enjoying a fun day with friends, but suddenly see them posting something that seems to be mentioning you. What will you do? A. Feel nostalgic and want to text them. B. Feel curious, but decide not to care. C. Scroll past as if it never existed, because your life no longer revolves around them. Which option would you choose? Take a moment to think. Comment your answer below. See if you have really gone through this stage or if there is still something holding you back. At the end of the video, I will reveal the answer to this question. 6. You don't just survive. You actually start to thrive. There is a big difference between surviving and truly living. When you have just stepped out of a hurtful relationship, you may initially just try to get through each day. You learn to accept the pain, learn to stand firm without that person by your side. But then a miracle happens. You don't just simply survive anymore. You really start to thrive, stronger than ever. This is the moment you look back and realize you have completely changed. You no longer have to guess if someone loves you, because you have stopped seeking validation from others. You no longer accept half-hearted love, because you understand that you deserve a whole and clear love. You no longer give in to mixed signals, vague promises. Instead, you set your own standards. A standard that you will no longer easily compromise. But most importantly, you realize your value does not depend on anyone else. You used to think that your happiness was tied to one person, but now you understand that happiness comes from within you. You find joy in the little things: a good book, a cup of coffee in the morning, a trip that you never dared to take when you were in that relationship. When you leave, you not only leave a person, you leave an old version of yourself. A version that used to struggle to find love from the wrong places. Used to lower your standards to fit someone who wasn't ready to love you the way you deserve. Now you are no longer that person. You have become a stronger version, knowing clearly what you want, knowing that you deserve a full, fulfilling, and happy life. And this is not the end. This is the beginning of a new journey, where you are no longer the one chasing love, but the one who attracts true love. A journey where you are confident, steady, and no longer afraid. Are you ready to step into a new chapter of your life yet? This journey is not just about leaving someone. It is a journey of finding yourself again, a journey where you learn to let go of what is no longer suitable to create space for better things. And most importantly, you have changed forever. You are no longer the one who used to accept half-hearted love, who used to try to seek validation from someone who couldn't love you properly. You have stopped asking, do they regret it? Because you understand that their regret is no longer related to your life. Instead, you ask a more important question: am I living the life that I love? And when the answer is yes, you know that you have won. Not winning in the way of who is right, who is wrong, but winning yourself. Winning the old beliefs, the fears that once held you in an unhealthy relationship. You realize that true love is not chasing someone, but finding someone who is ready to love you as you deserve. Love is not a chase. It is not trying to make someone change, nor is it endless waiting. True love is when two people are ready, cherish, and choose each other clearly. So instead of regretting the past, you move forward with gratitude. Grateful for this experience that has helped you grow, helped you understand your worth, and helped you open a new chapter. A chapter where you no longer need someone to feel complete, but you know how to make yourself happy. And that is true power. Are you ready to embrace a new chapter of your life? Live a life that you are proud of? A life where you are the center, not anyone else? Thank you for taking the time to watch the video. Let's look forward to the next video on the channel.